There is a moral case to make as well about who we are as a country, what we believe in, and I don't think we win by seeking to out-reform reform. The last thing we need at the moment is internal squabbles. Divided parties don't win, and we can't beat reform if we're arguing amongst ourselves.
This theme that the conference has developed against reform, about sort of going against our, British nature, if you like, where does that go next? Hello and welcome to the Fourcast from Labour Party conference in Liverpool, and the first of our deputy leadership interviews. First up is the Education Secretary, Bridget Phillipson. Welcome.
Hello.
Write your own job description.
Campaigner-in-chief, a voice to get things done in government, and bringing together the membership and the movement to do more brilliant Labour things.
So it's a more internal focused job for you rather than public facing.
So I have the public-facing role, so I think I can combine the two, but I also would be that link between the membership and the movement and the party in government. That's the way it's always been done in the past, where you look at people like Harriet Harman, John Prescott, Angela Rayner, who were big figures in government, but also had a reach into the membership and into our trade union movement, and that's what I think I can bring.
I mean, normally I would be going through a load of policies and asking you what you think about this, that and the other, if it was a leadership contest and you weren't in government. Because you're in cabinet, I assume you're not going to disagree with anything that is government policy.
Well, what I've done consistently and what I'll always do is to make the case for what needs to happen to represent the views of our members, our voters and our movement in government. It's why, I fought tooth and nail to expand free school meals to 500,000 more children, but that only happened because I had a seat at the cabinet table and I could get things done. I wasn't throwing stones from the outside.
Do you feel that is the way to get things done?
Look, I think there's a risk that if you're not in government, you're simply throwing stones, you're not contributing to that wider direction. What I would bring is the voice of members, the voice of the movement, but into the heart of government, putting our values into action. And what I've been setting out today in the speech I gave to Labour Party conference is how we do that. For example, bringing up maintenance grants, targeted maintenance grants for less well-off students.
Yes, I mean, but if you're not able to voice the criticism because you're in the cabinet, how would people know what you're saying?
Because it's about what you deliver, not just simply what you talk about doing. And I think members can look at my record of delivery, whether that's on rolling out early years education and childcare, the new free breakfast clubs, the further announcement I've made this week to go even further, 500,000 more children benefiting from free school meals, and today new targeted maintenance grants for students. That's the difference you make when you've got a seat at the cabinet table, when you're able to get things done. And that would build on the amazing campaigning record of people like Angela Rayner, who did that incredibly effectively from within government.
So, I mean, you're widely assumed to be one of the big voices calling for an end to the two-child benefit cap in the government. But we don't know that. Would you like to tell me? Is that what you're calling for inside?
I've been very clear that scrapping the two-child limit is on the table. I have been leading that work of the Child Poverty Task Force. The evidence is clear. I'm clear about what needs to happen. Two-child limit is on the table. But I haven't been waiting around for that. And that's why, 100,000 children next year will be lifted out of poverty because of the action that I've taken as Education Secretary. I think members can look at my record, look at what I've delivered and take confidence in that. But what I'd also say is that the message I've heard loud and clear from all the people that are with us here this week is that they want us to unite, to take the fight to reform and to beat them. The last thing we need at the moment is internal squabbles. Divided parties don't win, and we can't beat reform if we're arguing amongst ourselves.
Right, so you think all the leadership talk is destructive at the moment? I mean, if you were deputy leader, you'd be on the NEC. In a couple of months' time, a proposal comes forward. Andy Burnham wants to stand in a by-election. I think I know how Lucy Powell would vote on that candidate selection. How would you?
Do you?
Well, I think Lucy Powell's a big friend of Andy Burnham's and would support him coming back into Parliament.
Look, I've worked really...
I don't know what you would think in that scenario.
Look, I've worked really closely with Andy. We've done lots together on skills, a big priority for him, and we've worked with him and with our regional mayors to deliver a lot more on skills. But I'm not going to get into hypotheticals as to events that will or won't happen. I mean, we did just have a general election last year, so
But if he wants to be an MP,
Well,
Would you like to see him back in Parliament?
That's up to him, really. It's not for me to say. I mean, he's
Well, it would be if you were a deputy leader, because you'd get a vote on the NEC.
No. I mean, we're talking about a few hypotheticals way down the line. Look, Andy's doing a great job in Manchester. As I understand it, he's got no intention of stepping away from that position.
No, but it's interesting that you're not prepared to say, I think it'd be great to see him back in Parliament.
Well, I'm generally opposed to hypotheticals about if there were a by-election, if this were to happen. You're asking me to get a few steps along a journey that doesn't actually exist at the moment.
People tend to like hypotheticals they like,
journalists love
and bat away hypotheticals they don't.
Journalists love hypotheticals for reasons you will understand, but I'm not getting into that.
Right. So when you say taking the fight to reform, what do you mean? Because I think we're not used to seeing you, in the way that we're perhaps used to seeing Angela Rayner as a sort of a barnstorming street fighter. I mean.
Well, I think
is that what you are?
Well, have watched my speech and you can give me a verdict
I did watch
what
it,
you reckon.
Yeah.
But I've campaigned the length and breadth of our country. I was Shadow Education Secretary for 2.5 years. I campaigned in seats the whole length and breadth of England. And what I've also done since I launched my campaign to be Deputy Leader is to be in every nation and region, because we've got really vital elections coming up in Scotland and Wales next year. And I've also always been confident and keen to make sure that our members, our MPs, our councillors have got things they can put on their leaflets. And when I go to those seats and I campaign, what I see in those leaflets is the new breakfast club that's opening in the town, the new nursery that opened in September that my department is delivering, and the expansion of free school meals. So good Labour policies, our values into action. I've got a record of delivery, but I'm asking members for the mandate to go even further.
Can you do that when you're Education Secretary? I mean, it's not a part-time job, is it?
No, but is anybody seriously suggesting that Angela Rayner was a part-timer? She was running a big government department. John Prescott was the same when he was in government, and Harriet Harman too.
But I suppose there's more campaigning now, isn't there? I mean, you've got elections coming up next year, as you say, that are going to be really, really important, not least for the future of Keir Starmer, that are going to need the deputy leader out there on the streets a lot, and you've got a big job. Absolutely,
but I'm out there on the streets anyway. I mean, I'm out across the country every week, visiting schools, colleges, campaigning with our candidates on the doors. It's why if you look at lots of the MPs who endorse me, and I did secure the biggest number of endorsements from MPs, it was me 2 years ago knocking on doors in their constituency or with them on a school visit. I've got a strong track record on this. I think members recognise that, and I want to do more.
So how do you now take the fight to reform? I mean, there's been a big argument at conference since Keir Starmer launched his attack on what a policy he believes is racist, around how you attack a policy that is racist without saying the people behind it and the people who support it are also racist.
So there are two things. Firstly, we do need to make a difference in people's lives in terms of the cost of living pressures and the challenges that they're seeing around public services. That is part of how we will beat reform. People seeing and feeling change in their communities and being better off. But alongside that, we have to make the moral case for what we believe in and why we believe it, why we're Labour, and why our values are the values of the British people. And I don't think where people are is the divisive, unpleasant rhetoric that Reform are increasingly peddling that's becoming ever more extreme.
Well, I think we have seen would disagree with that, wouldn't they?
I think it reflects a frustration that people feel about the pace of change. And we've had many years where in communities like mine, people have seen bus services disappear. They can't get to see an NHS dentist. When they ring the police, nobody comes. That's what we've inherited as a government after 14 years. That's what we will turn around, and we have to deliver and show to people that their communities are getting better, that their lives will improve, and they've got more money in their pocket. And the action I've taken in government has done precisely that. The 30 hours of government-funded childcare we rolled out, that puts £7,500 back into the pockets of families. That makes a huge difference. But there is a moral case to make as well about who we are as a country, what we believe in and what we are for. And I don't think we win by seeking to out-reform.
I mean, you talk about the moral case. Is there an intellectual case? Is there a red thread that runs through the Labour project at the moment that a lot of people are really struggling to see? What is the guiding belief that unites all of the things that you are doing that makes them more than just a sort of a shopping list of transactions?
So for me, it's about the opportunity that we give not just to our young people, but to working people right across the country. So it's about the power of government to change lives, to open up opportunities, but to give people freedom to choose what they want to do in life, to choose their calling and their cause, and for our young people to not be held back because of their circumstances and their family background. The Labour Party has always been about how you break that link between background and success. It's why tackling child poverty is such a big priority for me. It will be my number one priority as Deputy Leader, because while we have a situation where millions of children in our country grow up in poverty, it's not just a question of those families being poorer, we are all poorer, we all suffer.
But, I mean, do you think that survives the current modern political environment, which is very driven by social media, that is very rigged in terms of the algorithm, and the mood of politics in which people aren't really that interested in statistics they don't necessarily believe or understand? It's a lot to do with feel, isn't it?
It is, and we've got to adapt and we've got to get our message across in a much more effective way. I've heard that from members, I agree, we've got to tell that story. But it's not just enough to tell, you've actually got to show it in reality, and that's why the change that people will see in their communities will be critical. Look, I do see the polls. I mean, of course I see them. You're a politician, you look at the polls, but polls represent how people feel at this moment in time. They're not a prediction of the future. They can't predict what's going to come. It is within our power to turn that around, to secure that second-term Labour government. And why I want to be Deputy Leader is to be out there making the case, not just for what we're delivering now, but what more we have to do, and bring our members and our movement together, but in government. We don't do that by throwing stones from the outside.
But what makes you think that will turn around, given you already have a story to tell on certain things in your own department, and another cabinet minister here saying, well, we've done this, that and the other, and it doesn't seem to be being felt by the electorate? What makes you think that there will come a point when these incremental changes are suddenly felt and everybody goes, oh, they are changing the country?
Look, people are impatient for change. I'm impatient for that, and I'm ambitious for what we can do. We're little more than a year into this government. I mean, have we got everything right? No, of course we haven't. I'd be the first to accept it. But we have done some amazing, brilliant Labour things that our members can be proud of. We've got to do more, but there's a long, long road to run until that next general election. And I do believe that we can turn it around.
And how do you accelerate the pace of change?
Well,
that's rhetoric at the moment. You can promise that.
Well,
but the question is, when do people feel it?
Well, I've just delivered some of it in the conference hall with the announcement I've made today that this Labour government will be introducing new targeted maintenance grants for less well-off students to have the chance to go to college
we don't know how
or
many.
university.
We don't know how much.
We'll be setting out all the detail in the budget. We'll set out the detail, but this is going to be a significant change that will make a really big difference to young people in our country.
I mean, even that is unpopular with some parts of the party here, isn't it? I mean, it's been criticised as stupid by MPs like Alex Sobel.
Sorry, what?
Your maintenance grants policy, because they say it's taking money away from universities.
No, we will raise money from the international students levy and invest in support for domestic students. I do believe that is the right thing to do, and we'll do it. We're doing that because the Conservatives pulled away maintenance grant support from less well-off students. That's having a really big impact on students and on the cost of living, and that is a choice that I have made to prioritise investing in those who need it the most. That is a Labour choice.
How close are you to Keir Starmer?
I'm close to him, of course I am. I'm in his cabinet, he's our Prime Minister. All of us as party members, whether in the cabinet or out, should want the Prime Minister and our government to succeed. And that's what I've heard from our members.
But would you be working very closely as a team, or do you see yourself as sort of a step removed as Deputy Leader?
Yeah, I would be working closely with our Prime Minister, but I'd also be working closely with our councillors, with our mayors, with our movement. I mean, that's what I do at the moment. That's my record. And I think if you look at the support that I've secured, not just from MPs, but also from many of our big affiliated trade unions, that's because they recognise the work that we've done together, and they have put confidence in me to be that link between the movement in the country and our members and government.
And would you have the strength and the independence, if it came to it, to tell the Prime Minister the hardest thing, which might be, it's not working, you're not up to it? You know, if you needed to, I'm not saying you would ever get to that point, but do you have the independence and the strength of mind, as a Deputy Leader with your own mandate elected, to deliver the tough news to the leader if it comes to it?
Look, if you speak to any of my colleagues, those in Cabinet and outside of Cabinet, they'll know that I'm someone that does say what I think, and I will do that forcefully behind closed doors. What you won't see me doing is out there undermining our government, making it harder for us to win that second term. But I make and win arguments, and I deliver for our members. That's what I've delivered at conference. It's what I've delivered in the last year or so as Education Secretary.
And this theme that the conference has developed against reform, about sort of going against our, British nature, if you like, where does that go next? Because, I mean, one of the criticisms, I think, of this government that I've heard a lot here is that you announce things, you haven't been building the argument and making the case very well. So you announce digital ID, you announce recognition of Palestine, but you hadn't taken the public and the party on a journey towards those places. Is this going to be a sustained attack and campaign, do you think?
Yes, I mean, we're in the fight of our lives with reform, but it's not just about the Labour Party. In fact, the Labour Party is secondary in this. This is about our country and our country's future. And while we do have to build a Britain where everyone can get on and where we reject the politics of division peddled by Farage.
Right, 5 quick ones I'll put to Lucy as well. What's the most listened to song on your playlist?
Belle and Sebastian, various Belle and Sebastian songs, my favourite band.
If you weren't a politician, what would you be?
I'd be running a bookshop.
What's your guilty pleasure?
Watching Netflix.
Tony Blair or Gordon Brown?
Tony Blair.
Do you have a hobby and what is it?
I play hockey for a women's hockey team.
Bridget Phillipson, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.
And that's the Fourcast. Bye-bye.